in reality, I actually do want us to try and walk through this question honestly. I'm a researcher. I did a doctoral program at Penn State, and so trying to answer questions like this with facts and with research is important to me, not just to pat you in the back and say, hey, congratulations, you're making the right choice. Actually, this is a really important question to ask. This is not just absolutely across the board. It's well, in the most part, yeah, for most people, most of the time, sure. But there's a lot of variables that go into play here, and it's something you should be thinking about as you're trying to steward your finances and things of that well. Now, I'm biased on this, as anybody who talks about this issue would be biased. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. Came from a really rural, poor family, and then went on to get my bachelor's and master's and doctorate, and it's changed my life. So I'm a big believer in higher ed, and I work at obviously an institution of higher education. So I believe in that, but again, there's a lot of different variables that go into this that I want to talk through with you today. So a little more about me. This is my lovely wife, Emily. You may have seen her. She's a student success advisor down in lower level of the student center. She's expecting, so we got a little one on the way, a little bun in the oven. And these are the different sites around the state of Michigan that I work with. So there's 11 different locations. Typically, it's working adults who are coming one night a week to work towards their bachelor's or master's degree. And I oversee the admission staff and the student support staff of each one of these sites. So as we launch into this question, what I was asked to speak about was the question is my degree worth it? And honestly, I can't answer that question, because this is a super subjective thing to decide. There's so many different parts that, both costs and benefits that go into this. I can't tell you, yes, the degree is absolutely worth it. Maybe what I'm going to try and do today is ask this question, in what ways is my degree worth it? What are the different variables that go into this so that you can make a decision about what's important to you and if this is a good choice for you? So I'm going to talk about this at the college level in general. Is a college degree specifically worth it? And then a little bit about a spring Arbor degree and what that looks like. So first we'll talk about the costs of college. The first one people tend to think about is the cost of attendance, right? The tuition and fees. That's the cost of college. And that's definitely true. But again, this is a little bit muddy because probably no three of you are paying the same thing to go to Spring Arbor. Based on your high school GPA, your test scores, your need, what scholarships you've got, you're all paying different amounts. And so this variable varies quite a bit based on what you're bringing in. But bottom line, there's something you're paying each semester. Now added on to that, depending on how much you have in loans, is loan interest. Okay, so you've got the sticker price, and then you've got what you pay over the lifetime of your degree. If you're taking out Stafford loans, you're paying about 6% interest after you graduate. If you've got Parent Plus loans, that may run into 9%. Private loans could be 20%. So your cost could vary quite a bit depending on how you're choosing to finance your education. So that's one big variable. The two that we don't think about very much are the opportunity costs, and I'm calling this lifestyle restrictions. But opportunity costs is the stuff you could be doing other than being at Spring Arbor right now. So you could be traveling through Europe, you could be working at an assembly factory, you could be doing any number of things. For some of you, this isn't really a big factor. You don't really have anything else you want to be doing right now. College is the thing, so you're not losing a lot of opportunity. But for some of you, you could at the very least be making money instead of paying it to go to school. So that's another cost. And then the other cost would be, I call it lifestyle restrictions. You're living on campus. You're told to live on campus for the most part. You're told to have a roommate. You're told that, girls can't visit you after a certain time of night. You can't drink, all those sorts of things. Again, for some of you, not a big deal. You'd be doing that anyway. For others of you, that actually cramps your style quite a bit, and you can't wait to get out. So that's a cost that you think about going into college. So those are the costs. The benefits kind of fall under, I put them under these 5 different categories. Vocational, social, physical, and then more specifically Spring Arbor, spiritual, and then more broadly, not just related to you, but related to society in general, societal benefits to education. So first, vocational. This is the one that everybody thinks about when they think about, is my degree worth it? What am I going to make on the other side of this? And for sure, there are huge benefits to a college degree. The average college grad, and this estimate varies depending on who you ask, but they'll earn something between 66% to 84% more over their lifetime than someone with a high school degree. So you can kind of see up here, So the median earnings, 45 grand versus 28 grand for a high school grad. So a pretty immediate payoff in terms of what you're going to earn over your lifetime. But it's not just that paycheck. There's some other vocational benefits as well. You look at the unemployment rate. People with a bachelor's degree are about a fourth as likely to be unemployed at any point in time than people without a bachelor's degree. Even though you may change jobs, you're going to have more stability. You're going to be much less likely to live in poverty because not only do you have greater earning power and greater skills because of your degrees, but you've got stronger social networks, you've got more human capital, you know how to navigate the systems that other people just don't. So a lot of factors go into play to make the economic side of this really valuable for you. But beyond the economic side, there's the deeper vocational things, right? The chance to follow your passions and to hone your gifts. Even 100 years ago, many of you in this room, first of all, you wouldn't be here because most of you are not white males, and that was basically who went to college 100 years ago. And even a lot of you who are white males probably don't come from middle, upper class families, so you would have followed your dad into his trade and just done that thing. Women, sorry, trades were kind of off the table for you. You were going to have a lot of kids if you survive childbirth, basically. So you have a chance now, though, with a college education to say, hey, you know what? My dad's a carpenter, but I want to be a teacher. And you can train yourself and equip yourself to go do that. That's pretty awesome to have that opportunity. That's something that a lot of folks, my dad included, did not have that choice. So that is an incredible benefit of a college education. And then the chance to maximize your gifts. God's made each of you in a very particular way, giving you a very particular set of skills like Leanne Neeson, and you have a chance to hone those and become more of who God made you to be. And that is so enriching and so great. So these are the vocational side of things. On the social side, here's just some stats again from college in general. College graduates are more likely to get married. So there is a little bit of truth to the ring by spring thing. You're less likely to get divorced, less likely to go to jail, and significantly more likely to report being happy. Again, a lot of reasons for this. You're in college with a bunch of people your same age, more likely to meet someone kind of in that age category for you. Less likely to get divorced, probably because you're learning some healthy conflict skills. You're taking an intro to psych class and understanding how the chemicals in your brain affect how you react to things. You're thinking a little bit maybe at a higher level than just reacting to people. Less likely to go to jail. You've got more economic opportunity. So you're not going to be unemployed. You're not living on welfare. You're able to earn income and not resort to nefarious means of generating revenue. You've got maybe more purpose in life too. So you've got reasons to avoid going to jail. And hopefully you're living a more balanced, healthy life. And some of the happiness ties into the physical things, the next factor here. Folks who go to college and graduate are much more likely to be healthy, less likely to smoke, to drink heavily, to be obese, more likely to save for retirement, and live 7 years longer. So if you feel like you've wasted your 4 years, the good news is you'll get that plus 3 more on the other end as a result of making it through. So keep at it. Again, what's the reason for this? Okay, it's not like I took a math class and that adds on a month to my life. I take a psych class that adds on 6 months. It's the larger things of you understanding cause and effect relationships, right? I can understand the world. There's a world outside of my universe, and I can understand that certain choices I make affect those things, and I have a little bit more control and agency in my life. You're more likely to have a job, which means you're probably more likely to have money to save for retirement. So there's this cascading side of these benefits here. On the spiritual side, there are some benefits to going to college too, and these are true in general of college, but specifically at Spring Arbor. You see college grads have more ownership of their faith. Right? You may remember coming into college with a set of beliefs that your parents had, and you just kind of believe that because they believe that. But that probably don't make it through those first couple Bible classes where your worldview is being picked apart, and you've got to decide, okay, do I really believe what I thought I believed? There's this disequilibrium, but then you put it back together again, and you leave with a faith that you actually own. That's pretty rich as you try and then endure difficulties throughout the course of your life. You actually know why you believe what you believe. Hopefully, too, you've got support systems and mentors and things like that in place as well. You're asking better questions of your faith. You actually leave college, hopefully, with more questions than you came in with, but they're much better questions. You're asking questions in the right way. Again, as Christians, that's it. For those of you who are Christians, that deep, nuanced faith is so central to who we are, having this real relationship with God. And college grads are more likely to attend church. They're more committed to community because they've experienced community in this sort of setting. They don't want to leave that when they get out. So these are things specific to you, but there's also some reasons that other people should go to college. And what I mean by that is that college is good for society. So you ask, is my degree worth it? Okay, that's one question. But then you ask, should I support other people going to college? There's good reasons for that as well. College graduates, areas with high levels of college graduates have lower crime rates. College graduates pay more taxes and receive fewer government subsidies. So again, if I'm earning more, I'm paying more in taxes. If I'm employed, I'm not receiving unemployment, I'm not on welfare, I'm not going to prison, where now people are paying for me to live in prison. I'm being a productive member of society. So this may not be a motivation for you personally to say, hey, how can I pay more taxes to support our government? I'm a big believer in America. I'm going to go to college so I can support the USA. But you may say, you know what, I wish other people would do that, so my tax burden would be a little bit less. Well, there's good reason for that. That happens when you graduate from college. College grads are more likely to volunteer, more likely to work at nonprofits, more likely to donate to charity, more likely to vote, be involved in their community, and build these relationships with their neighbors. So if you had a choice between living in a community with a high proportion of college grads and one with high school dropouts, you can think about a difference in the quality of life between those two communities. Again, college does something to you, it makes you into a different kind of person, and you're probably experiencing that already, even as you're in the process of going to college. You're thinking differently about the world. As we look at this globally, as the world has embraced education, over the last 30 years, homicides in the US are down by nearly half. Poverty is a third of what it was 30 years ago. Globally, we're in half as many wars, half as many people are being killed as before. The poverty rate across the globe used to be about 30%, now it's down below 10. And again, not because all these people are going to college, but as education in general sweeps our countries, people learn to make data-informed decisions, to understand cause and effect. We start to live better lives altogether. And this kind of goes against the narrative we have of like doom and gloom, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Actually, in a lot of ways, the world's getting better, and education is a huge part of that. So, as you look at the costs and benefits, again, this is a complex question. Your cost of attendance, your opportunity costs on one side, those vary quite a bit. And the benefits vary quite a bit. And one of the reasons that things vary are these mediating variables. And this is a research term that says, okay, things on this side and things on the other side, there's something else that explains these factors that vary from person to person. And so there are 4 big things that actually you have control over that determine sort of the ratio between costs and benefits for college. So there's 2 ways basically you could make college more worth it. One is to increase the benefits, one is to decrease the costs. In terms of increasing benefits, what do you think the biggest variable is that predicts how much you will earn after college? Boaz.
What major you choose?
Congratulations, Boaz. You win. As I mentioned in general, the median college graduate earns about 66 to 84% more than a high school grad, but that matters a ton what you major in. The highest earning graduate earns about 3 times what the lowest earning graduate. Again, talking medians, it varies from person to person. So if you're a counseling psychology major, you're making about $29,000 a year, median. If you're a petroleum engineering major, your median income is about 120 grand. There's quite a spread in between the 2 of those things. So if you are really questioning the ROI on college, part of it is your major. Okay, if I'm really concerned about this and I don't know if I can earn enough to make up for what I'm paying, possibly you should consider what your major is. The second thing is what you gain from college. We talked about the other nuanced benefits of it. How much you learn, how much you change as a person. What do you think the biggest variable is that predicts what you gain from college?
Where you go. What school you go to.
No, actually. That is an important factor, but not the only thing.
Your involvement.
Yes, your level of engagement. You know, the biggest thing that predicts whether students are satisfied with college is how much interaction they have with faculty outside of the classroom. So for those of you who like take your favorite faculty member to lunch sometimes and chat about life, you get mentored, you have a richer college experience than the guy who plays video games and watches Netflix in his room every night. Our president at Penn State used to talk about Penn State being a sports car, and he would use this analogy and say, you know, a lot of you are in the sports car and you're kind of putzing around the neighborhood like 20 miles an hour. Like, get out on the highway and open this thing up. Like, get everything you can get out of this experience. If you are involved in student leadership, if you are not just doing the minimum in your classes to get by, but you're actually trying to learn because it's interesting, if you're doing internships, if you're getting mentored, if you're involved in community, you have a fundamentally different experience than someone who goes to the same school but checks out, does the minimum, stays in their room, is not engaged. In fact, I would argue, this is me more so than research, I think the most engaged students at Spring Arbor are learning way more than the mid-range or least engaged students at a place like Harvard. Because your involvement, your engagement with the experience makes a huge difference in terms of what you get out of the college experience. So there's two big ways then to reduce costs as well. That's how we increase benefits on the reducing cost side. One is limiting your debt. You may not be able to control your cost of attendance because that's based on your grades and your family's need and stuff like that. But you can limit the amount of interest you're paying on that cost of attendance down the road. Some of you are kind of enjoying the college life a bit. You're taking out full loans you can get and using that money to live a little bit more cushionly, perhaps, than you could. You have to pay that back at some point down the road. That's going to increase the cost of your college experience. For me, I worked multiple jobs on campus. Worked over the summer and saved up all that money so I could pay cash for every semester. So I graduated without any college debt. And part of that was my family was super poor. I was receiving a full Pell Grant. My expected family contribution was 0 because we were that poor. So I had to come up with the money myself and with the help of people in our community to do that. I changed my major because I found out there was a scholarship that I was a math ed major, but I could get a different scholarship if I changed to math, so I changed to math to get a bit bigger scholarship because I was so committed to getting out without debt. And there's a healthy balance there. It's not like debt is the anathema of college students, but it affects this ROI. The other factor is your time to degree. Some of you came in with a lot of college credits and you could get out of here in 3.5 years without a huge stretch. That cuts a significant amount off the cost of your education. There's a trade-off there too. Again, you may miss out on some of those relationships that you want, some of the classes you want to take. So again, there's a trade-off there, but for some of you, if you're actually looking to maximize a return on investment from college, shortening your time to degree, especially not going more than 4 years, finishing it at least in 4 years, is a huge factor. So really, I mentioned earlier, I can't really answer the question, is my degree worth it? And to be fair, I didn't really even address about in which ways is my degree worth it. Really the question, I think, is what are you doing to get the most out of your college degree? Because so much of this is in your control. As you think about minimizing the costs and maximizing the benefits, what are you doing? How engaged are you? How frugal are you being? Are you in the right field? If you're paying a ton and you have a lot of debt to pay off down the road, is that a good decision for you? What can you do to maximize benefits, minimize costs, so that college is worth it? Because college is such a valuable experience. It's so important to graduate from college for most people most of the time. You have control over what that looks like for you. Thoughts?
Awesome. So real quick, if you gotta go, now's the time. Feel free to grab more coffee, more donuts. We're gonna transition to a question and answer time. And so thanks for coming, guys.
Why do you think attitudes are so important? The sense that people are being more apathetic or now in this time period instead of a few years ago or decades ago?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think there's a few different factors there. I think the recession of 2008 got people thinking a lot more about their financial security and the ROI of what they were doing. And so the conversation didn't even shift away from college, but how do you maximize the ROI on college? Instead of how to go to college to grow personally. That used to be the number one reason people would go to college is, I want to become a better person, I want to learn, be more intrinsically motivated. Now you ask college freshmen why they came to college, and it's, I want to get a better job. So that puts, again, the fact that we're even talking about the ROI of college speaks to some of that's a conversation we're having now. I think the other thing is there's a bit of an undercurrent of like rising populism in the country now where there's a mistrust of highly educated people and believing like the establishment that wants to saddle you with debt, don't trust them. I know a guy that never went to college and he makes $1 million a year now. Well, the reason you know a guy that does that because they're pretty rare. The last thing I would say is that colleges have not done a good job of keeping costs down. And so as college debt goes up, as the price of college goes up and up and up, it's a lot harder to just say everybody should go to college. So there's some good reasons to be skeptical, I think, even as it is socially beneficial.
Yeah. What were some of the things that you did to kind of get the most out of your degree?
Yeah, so I was really involved. My freshman year, I think I was taking 18 credits. I was tutoring 6 students. I was in our school play, and I was playing intramurals, all at the same time. And so I did not have a lot of downtime. I was a student leader all throughout. My senior year, I knew I was going to go into student development, and so I designed a student development internship where I would rotate from department to department 2 weeks at a time, like doing projects with them and kind of learning their world. So I was prepared to go into grad school well. My last year, I cut back on the number of classes I was taking so I'd have more time to invest in relationships with mentors and staff and things like that. People who are still good friends, to this day. So, I would say I just tried to grab college by the horns and really get the most out of it. Yeah.
How does this topic relate to grad school? Not just undergrad, but going into graduate programs.
Yep, good question. So again, in general, the average master's grad earns about twice as much as a high school grad earns. So there is a good return on investment for most master's degrees most of the time. So much of it depends on your field. I say that, but honestly, master's degrees add value in just about every field. Some fields, it's a necessity. If you have an undergrad in psychology, you can go get jobs working in human resources or things like that, perhaps with that. But if you want to teach, if you want to practice, you need to go get a doctorate, probably not even a master's degree in that. If you've got a bachelor's in social work, you can do stuff right out of the gate. You're a licensed social worker. So in general, there's a really good payoff, but again, it depends on what you want to do and what your industry looks like and all those sorts of things. There's a lot of variables to play in. What are you thinking about specifically?
I'm going to law school.
Okay. Yeah, so law school in particular, the things I would be thinking about are, one, there's a huge production of lawyers in our country right now. Is there enough demand for that degree when you get out? The second thing is law school is incredibly expensive compared to other master's degrees. So again, what I'm paying, is it going to work on the other side? It varies quite a bit from school to school. And you can get more or less generous financial aid at different places as well. So it's not just like law school or not, it's now which law school, because I have to shop around a little bit in terms of that. But yeah, good question.
With grad school, we hear these stories of people like finding jobs that pay for their grad school.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that that's something to really take seriously, or like no? Once you finish with your undergrad, and if you know what you're doing, just go to grad school. Like, how do we make that decision?
Yeah, I think it depends. Again, it depends on the industry. So like we have a partnership with Brembo down the road, and they're paying 100% for their people who have no college education to go from their associates through their masters. So it's happening 15 minutes away. If you are a teacher, your school may support you getting your master's in teaching. If you're a social worker, your organization may support you getting your master's in social work. So it definitely does happen. It's not across the board a given that it always happens. And it depends on the field. Like if you want to get a master's in history, you may not find people that are going to pay you to do that. But like for my doctorate, I got paid to go to school. So I worked 15 hours a week. I made $17,000 a year, and I got tuition waived, which was another $45,000. So I made about $50,000 a year working 15 hours a week and studying full time. You probably shouldn't pay for your doctorate degree because those sorts of things there are assistantships and fellowships that pay for that. But masters, those tend to be more funded by businesses rather than by the schools themselves. Spring Arbor is not going to pay you to get your master's at Spring Arbor, but Michigan may pay you to get your PhD at Michigan. So, yeah, there is some truth to that, but again, it so depends on your individual trajectory.
How do you convince someone who's so set on like getting the degree for money now, like how it is more like convincing them that it shapes the whole person better? Because I feel like so many people are going into the trades instead, or just opening their eyes, and so I don't know, the convincing argument for the whole person that
Yeah.
college affects that.
Honestly, I don't really try
Yeah.
because I don't really care why you came to college. I care what you experience at college. So if you come into if you're coming to Spring Arbor because you want an MBA because you're gonna earn more money, hey, that's great. That's gonna happen. It's a good benefit for you. Now, when you graduate and you're talking about why you love Spring Arbor, it's not gonna be because, man, I make so much more money now. I'm so glad I went to Spring Arbor. It's, gosh, I had this faculty member and they were amazing. This is what they did. So in some ways, if you come to me, you know, like that saying, I want the ROI, hey, that's great. Yeah, for sure. There are other things you're gonna like here too, just wait. And I know that what they're gonna experience here is gonna change their minds about it. For people that don't wanna go to college at all and just wanna go to a trade school, I say, hey, you know, that could be the right choice for you too. I would encourage you to think long term, do I wanna go back and get the critical thinking and communication and team building skills? That's what we do with SAU Global is we take people who are already in the field that didn't get that higher level stuff. They were good on the front lines, now they wanna lead a team, they need the management skills to do that. Awesome. We're the 2 to the 1-2 punch. We come in and say, you got the technical stuff, we're going to give you the liberal arts critical thinking things. And so for me, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. When are you going to do those other things? Anything else? For those of you who are curious, I have a few bonus slides here. If you're wondering what the top 10 majors are, you'll notice a commonality, that they all have the word engineering in them, besides a couple. So these are median earnings for people with a bachelor's degree, not necessarily people right out of grad school or right out of undergrad, but just the industry in general. And then here are the lowest ones. Sorry for those of you who are social workers or early childhood ed, but you kind of knew that already, probably. Just a little bonus for sticking around. And again, these are medians, so that means some people make quite a bit more, some people make quite a bit less than this. It so depends on which industry you work in. If you're going into your field versus changing fields, you know, people with a psychology degree, they can work in psychology or they can do any number of things. And so their median earnings are going to vary quite a bit based on those sorts of factors. But from a 30,000 foot view, this is sort of what the top and the bottom looks like. Just so you know, I started off as a mechanical engineering major, and then I changed my second semester of college to education. So you can do one of these majors and still feed your family. It is possible. Cool. Well, thanks for coming today. It's a pleasure to spend some time with you. Grab some donuts and coffee.